One thing is for certain. Just because it's tried and true doesn't mean it's working right now. So the big question is this: where can you learn what is working right now? The strategies, the tactics, the psychology, and the exact how-to. How to grow your business. How to blow up your personal brand and supercharge your personal growth. That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Sharran Srivatsaa, and welcome to Business School. Career as a marketer, and looking back, did you think that you'd get to work in software as a service, work in corporate, launch books, launch brands, launch podcasts, launch YouTube channels? Like, that was, if I'd asked you this question like 10 years ago, you'd be like, would that have been the world that you had envisioned jumping into all this?
You know, it's a good question. I mean, Sharran, I've had an amazing experience throughout my career, and I've been so grateful to work with like all the corporate companies, Mercedes-Benz, Bosch Home Appliances, to, you know, this real estate industry, which is so fascinating with Tom Ferry, and now SaaS with LionDesk. It's a journey, right? And I take it as it comes, and I love every step of it, and learning, and then doing what we're doing now, which is giving back and sharing with others.
Yeah, I think ever since the first time I met you, the one thing that you have like a amazing gift for is like, you'll see a spark of an idea or a topic, and then what most people will do is they'll say, you know what, hey Jimmy, go figure this out, or get me the cheat sheet on this. Hey Johnny, go do this. And you have a team at your disposal, so you can do that. But one thing that I've seen you do is you have such depth on all these channels. So you're like, hey, if this needs to get done, I'm just going to intricately understand how all this works so that I know this inside out. And that's a amazing, I think that's a gift for you, because not only top down on how a strategy works, but bottom up how to execute on it too. Where does that come from?
I mean, thank you for recognizing that, first of all. I think I asked somebody the other day, what is my unique skill? What is unique about me? Because sometimes it's hard to see that from the inside. And the answer was passion. And right when they said it, I immediately felt it. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect. And it can go in so many different directions, because I'm passionate if it's great, and I'm passionate if it's not great.
Yeah.
But my career primarily was PR, brand. And then I was dropped into the sales world. And I had to learn DR, and I had to learn direct response. And it like blew my mind in the beginning, because I'm like, no, I just make pretty pictures. Right? But I'm very thankful for the opportunity to learn it, because once I understood how the two of them could work together, and the power of performance marketing, I mean, I totally geek out on numbers now.
Yeah.
And having that background of brand and PR combined with the DR, just a really powerful skill set to do exactly what you're saying, is walk into a situation and know exactly where the pieces are, and then more importantly, know how to put them together in that journey to get us to that end goal, really in like the quickest way possible.
Yeah, exactly. My coach told me that she had a great line. She says, hey Sharran, you only know what you create. And that's like, I was like, wait, what? And she's like, you only know what you create. And that really, it hit me super hard, because a lot of times we are like, we talked about offline, we're integrators of sorts, right? We get these ideas. Yeah, we know the playbooks. Yeah, we know the theories. Yeah, we know the philosophy, but we have to integrate all of those into this very specific situation that we have, and sequence them to get it done right. And then when you do it, suddenly all the integrated pieces come to life for us as well. And so when she said, you only know what you create, and then she asked me the question after, well, what do you know? And so I said, well, I know this. She goes, well, let's talk about how you know that, because you created something associated with that. And that's when it was like totally lit up for me, where I was like, it's like building stuff is cool, right? Because you get to build it, and it's not, you build it from the ground up, just like you build so many, but you lean on experiences and data points from all over the place, which is what's very, very cool. So that is a really good lead into how you and I kind of wanted to put this interview together, which is, you literally took an idea and you created a amazing plan to get an Amazon bestseller done, which is awesome. And now you've gotten a chance to kind of look back and reflect on it. So first, as you look back and reflect on it, just some emotions around it. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when someone comes to you and says, okay, we're going to do this project and we need it to be a bestseller, you're kind of like, what? Right? And you immediately go to New York Times bestseller, which is a whole different ballgame and not what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
But what I learned, what I'm super excited to share with you guys today, is becoming an Amazon bestseller is possible.
Yeah.
And what I learned throughout that experience is there's all these kind of tricks and tips that really anyone can do.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. And it was incredible. We got to a bestseller in under 24 hours. And it blew my mind because we did all this work leading up to it thinking it was going to take weeks. And it was done. And then we just kind of looked at each other and high-fived and moved on. And it was amazing.
There's this, I tell for a lot of, in the real estate space, we have a lot of common friends, right? So I tell people, especially in any kind of sales situation, and as soon as you said that, that's what I thought of, is the idea of win before you arrive. If you can win before you arrive, you don't have to deal with objections. And literally that's what you did. It doesn't, people are like, oh yeah, that only took 24 hours. I'm like, you have no idea how long and how arduous and how strategic and how many pieces I put in place. So, even though if the person that's listening, it took 24 hours for it to materialize, but there was a lot of strategy that went into making this come to life. So if there is so the first question I have is, can this happen for anybody? Meaning, does it have to be a new book launch, or is it okay if this book is already on? How do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And to be honest, I don't know if how far past once you publish the book, if it makes sense. It might be, and I've got some tips that I'll go down the list of, but regarding that one, it might be when it hits Amazon versus when it's published to the world.
Got it.
Right. So we have mutual friends who publish books and they just sell them independently.
Right.
But what I did, the way that worked for me, is looking at it as day 0 or day 1, right when it got published to Amazon.
Got it. So I know you have not just a set of things that people should keep in mind, some guidelines, some tips, etc. What's the best way what's like the first thing that they should kind of kick off with in this process?
Yeah. So for sure, they should start by writing a book. I know that it sounds silly, but sometimes that's the hardest part of, I want to be a published author, but where the heck do I start? So write something that means something to you, that's going to mean something to readers. A lot of people are creating content constantly right now. You can take that content and compile it into a book. So don't think that you have to go, hide out in a cabin somewhere and become an author that way. There's also companies out there that can help you, right? So Tucker Max, right, has a company, I think it's called Scribe, and you can go to them and they can ghostwrite it for you or help you through it. So there's a lot of different ways to get through step 1, which is writing the book. Step 2 is you really need to design a eye-catching cover image. And that was interesting to me when they said, it's all about the cover image. I think at the time I'm like, well, yeah, of course. And I started looking at a lot of other ones, but that is really important from a standpoint of like reaching new people. You want to invest in a great designer who's going to give you that cover image that's really going to connect with your audience quickly, for the cold audience.
Right.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Of course, you have to sign up to become an Amazon seller, but here's where the secret sauce really comes in. So when you sign up to become an Amazon seller and you are choosing the category that your book is going to be in, that's really where the game changes. So if you think about it, if you're an Amazon bestseller, nobody says in what category.
Right.
right? I could write a book and I got the bestseller category for like gardening, right? In my backyard.
Yeah.
Whatever the category is, nobody ever asked. So there's a ton of places online where you can go and search that's going to walk you through how to go through the research of finding the right category for you. But that's really the secret sauce of it.
Huh.
When you go on it, here's where to look. When you go on Amazon, you scroll down to where it says product details, and you'll see where that book ranks in all books. Then you scroll down lower and it'll say, and this is like number 2 in this category, number 3, and you can go in this long string that takes you down to this category that you are eventually going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. So you become a category king or queen of sorts. So you're like, it's not psychology, it's not neuroscience, it's not clinical neuroscience, it's not clinical neuroscience in the modern era, it's not clinical neuroscience modern era North America, it's not clinical neuroscience modern North America, and like research universities only. And that way you pick the category that specifically is what you're suggesting, right?
Exactly. It's a very, very like research intensive strategic process. And you can choose to be in multiple categories, right? To see which is, because it's fluctuating all the time, right? And again, there's a ton of sites out there that'll help you figure out which one you can win in. But that really was eye-opening for me going through this.
Yeah.
And is really the secret.
And so a quick question on that, Marni. How, when you figured out this category thing was important, how did you, like, what was what process did you kind of just take overall in doing this? Was there a lot of time? Was it quick, or was it just oh my gosh, I'm going to do some research? Like, talk us through, like, I know it's been a while. So what do you remember about that process?
Yeah. So first of all, it needs to be relevant. Right? So I can't write a self-help book and then win in the gardening category, right? That was an example from before. So write down keywords, just like you would in a digital marketing campaign, like write down the keywords that associate with your book, right? And you're going to have like a ton of different categories, right? Self-help, psychology, personal development, making money, right? Whatever those are. Then start researching which books are in those categories and start drilling into not really the best sellers, but the ones that are like on the list, and keep going into that category that they're in 1, 2, and 3. What you want to do is get into a category where it's like there's the number 1 book was number 299,000, right? Like you want to get into where it's like this big number that is in the number 1 spot, not a big number of books sold, but you don't really have to beat that many books in that category to be number 1.
Yeah. Awesome.
Does that make sense?
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Very, very cool.
Yeah. It's super cool. Okay. So once you choose the category, that's secret sauce number 1. Number 2 is all this work you're doing leads up to one day. Right. So I love that you said earlier that to celebrate the wins, before the big win, right? Or along the way. Because that's absolutely true. All of the work is happening leading up to this. So what you do is you start priming your audience, right? You start priming your database to let them know, hey, I wrote a book, super excited to let you know about it. And you just be super upfront and transparent about, hey, I'd really appreciate if you'd support me on this day. Right. I'm going to send you the link on this day. If you can go and buy my book on this day, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah. Now, here's the other thing that you do. You discount your Kindle version, your e-version of that to 99 cents.
There you go.
So now your ask to your audience is not go buy my $20 book.
Yeah.
Just go buy would you buy the 99-cent Kindle version for me? I'd really appreciate it. Maybe you're sending them a book on the side for everybody who buys it and writes a review for you.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's 2 things that are happening. What you want them to do is you want them to all buy the book on the same day, right? The 99-cent Kindle version.
Right.
And you want them to write a review. Those 2 things are incredibly important, and you want it all done at the same time. Right? And what we noticed, I always thought it was the quantity game. right?
Right.
Like New York Times bestseller, it's all about
1,000 copies,
quantity.
whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's almost like social media algorithms, right? It's the engagement. It's, oh my gosh, a tight-knit group of people are excited about this all at the same time. Well, that's by design, right? You've worked really hard to get them to take that action on that day.
Yeah.
And that combined with the category, the subcategory that you've chosen, everybody purchasing it on the same day and leaving a review,
Yeah.
what gets you to that, golden ribbon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of the bestseller. And that's the other thing is keep your eye on the ball, because once that bestseller flag comes up, you screenshot that immediately because it could go away.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So mechanically speaking, if someone had to do this, they need some kind of vehicle to tell their audience, tell their fans, tell their followers, hey, go do this for me. So hopefully, while we're writing a book, we build like you've talked about, like a text message community or a email community, or we have a social media community, or et cetera. So what are some, like, just if you had to, for someone that didn't have a platform, an audience, and just say, hey, if there are 3 or 4 things that you should do in parallel while writing your books, get ready for kind of launch day, what would that be?
I mean, we all need to be building our community, and we all need to be having a database, right? And you're doing that with people who share like-minded interests with you. So as you're writing the book and you're interviewing people and you're researching, start building your community of people who are going to be really excited about this once it comes out.
Yeah.
Just like in real estate, you build your database based off of your sphere and people that you meet. Right. That's one section of it. And then you have the like-minded individuals around the topic that you're writing about. Yeah. And then because this is coming, you're staying organized, you're making sure that you have all their information. So when it's time to communicate with them, it's the push of a button.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Have you, what are your thoughts around these launch pods of sorts where you get, hey, I'm going to get 100 people into a Facebook group, kind of give them pre-access, get some almost, hey, don't give me the testimonial yet, do it as soon as it goes live. But they're just, what do you think about the kind of launch pod idea?
Yeah, I mean, it works, or it did work, right? For a long time. I think technology is really smart and is understanding of what we're trying to do. My tip number 10 here on my notes says, don't cheat. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you're recommending that they cheat, Sharran, but at least for this, if you think about it, Amazon is way smarter than us. So they're tracking IPs, they're tracking credit cards. Of course you could enact a pod who goes at the same time. I think in this case, it wouldn't be that terrible because they are purchasing.
Correct. Exactly.
Right? They are leaving a review. So, it's actually, now that I think about it, it's not that bad. I mean, in social media where it's like, go like my post now, right?
Yeah, it's a like for like.
Yeah, algorithm.
Yeah.
I have different mixed feelings on that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all.
Right?
Yeah.
But in this case, yeah. I mean, if you have a community and you all want to support each other, I mean, they're doing the action that you're asking everybody else to take. So why not?
The super side note for you, I know we talked about this. I have friends on Instagram, and they totally know these engagement pods and how they work, and how they're, like they said, hey, I don't mind. What they were telling me is like, hey, we don't mind that posts are getting likes, etc. What we mind is they're not getting likes for the right reasons, right? And so they're like, hey, if we see a 70-part direct message thread happening and then a flood of likes suddenly, we know that only came from an engagement pod. Maybe we let it go once, we let it go twice, but that's a very easy algorithm to write, to say, if 70 likes, or if 70 people get this, and then there are 70 likes here, there's a kind of connection there, which is why a lot of people, even on engagement pods, have taken it off the Instagram platform and said, hey, let's go to WhatsApp. But they don't realize that WhatsApp is owned by the same company, so they can track everything anyway. So it's super fascinating that you say that.
They know everything. Come on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you've got, so we hit on the high points, which is awesome. We'll keep going down your checklist here.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the main points. So write something people care about, become a seller, design the eye-catching cover image, choose the subcategory wisely, right? That's a big one. And that probably takes the most research and strategic thinking. All your marketing efforts are focused on that one single day. Tell everyone ahead of time so that they're ready to act. And I even have some copy here for people to grab. Ask for the review. Reviews are crucial, almost more crucial than the sales. Sell the ebook version for 99 cents to make it easy for people to support you, and be on standby for that ribbon of gold, right? Be on standby. So once it hits, you grab it.
That's awesome.
Right? And then it's there that you can put on your website, and you can put on the book, and you can put on all your marketing copy. And then the number 10, of course, was don't cheat.
Don't cheat. Yeah.
Amazon is way smarter than us.
Awesome. I'll put in the show notes, but I'll love for you to, I know that there's probably a magic secret underground passage code that we can get this cheat sheet of yours. What's the best way to get this cheat sheet of yours?
Yeah. If people want it, I'm happy to share it. If you honestly just want to text me book, the word book, text me at 949, and you can put this in the description, but 949-570-6490. And I'll send you this little, how to become an Amazon.
Yeah, 10 steps to becoming an Amazon bestseller. The executive summary by Marni Hill. That'd be awesome. So Marni, I'll put everything in the show notes for everyone, but I have like a few questions for you on this. So the first one is, looking back, is there something that you, or one or many things that you look back and say, you know what, I may have not done it that way?
In regards to this?
Yeah.
It was easier than I thought.
That's awesome.
I think, and that's because I hadn't done it before. Right. And so I think there was a lot of what ifs and question marks. I really liked working with the outside company through creating the book, right? There's an investment there, but they've done this a million times. And so just like going to a coach who's guiding you to the right answer, go to the experts, right? And let them guide you through it. They help me find the right designer. They're the ones who, share all of these tips to do. We have to do them.
Right. But
and again, I'm going to go back to coaching again. The information is out there to know what we're supposed to do. It's actually following through and being held accountable to doing it.
Yeah.
That makes the difference.
Totally. And I'll link up those two as well. I'm actually in a process right now with a business partner in one of my ventures, writing a book, which I would love to talk to you about on brand. So we're writing a brand book, and with Scribe. So
perfect.
So we're going, and especially I involved them on this one only because when you have two authors, I was like, bro, like, you and I are not going to get along on this. We're going to fight as to what comes where and how. Let's have an integrator, right? Like, there's going to be a scribe. They're going to write the process. And you and I have never written a book together. So let's have someone else distill our ideas down and kind of do that. So it's, especially if I know a lot of people are saying, hey, two of us should write a book together. If you ever have that consideration, my suggestion would be both of you shouldn't have a joint manuscript. You should go through a process and someone else write it for you, because that's the first one. My second one for mine that's actually coming out early, 2021 is I had like the first third of it done. And when I had my friends, kind of like people close to me who had written books in the past read it, they're like, Sharran, this is good, but, and I'm like, give me the but. They're like, it sounds like 17 or 18 different emails strung together. They're like, you're really good at writing emails and blog posts. Like, you don't know how to write a book. How many books have you written? And I go, that's so fascinating that in isolation, each section or chapter, I can do that, but I had no experience in tying it all together. So I literally brought on, a writer who has written stuff, and he's like, oh, you have everything. I can tie it all together really nicely. So when I reread his first draft of my, first section, I go, this is amazing. Like, this is what I wanted to say, but I wrote it in 17 blog posts. Like, it didn't work that way. So
Well, if you think about it, it's a really good point. We're so emotionally connected to our content, right?
Right.
When you're writing a blog post or you're writing an email, like you're writing from the heart, and a third party person looking at all of that is not going to have the same emotional attachment. So they're going to be able to easily see all of those themes and form it together.
Yeah.
And I wonder if when you read it back, if you were like, well, yeah, that's what I was saying.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. Totally. And I think the when I talked to Tucker and went through the process, it was super simple because he's like, dude, how many books have you written? And he goes, I'm not, he goes, it's all in your head. It's your content. Let me write the book. And then, we'll show you how to sell it and all of that. So it was a great point made, especially where they've written so many, right? So you got to give some credence to that process. So a big fan of, hiring a specialist to support you in this journey. Second question for you, Marni, is, after the book, maybe a couple ideas to kind of top this off, the cherry on the icing on the cake here. Post-launch, I got my golden ribbon. I feel good about this process. What would you say are like the first few things that come to mind on how can I take kind of the afterburner? A couple of steps on what would you suggest if someone already's got that? How do they get more value from getting more impact from post-book launch?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this will probably be in your branding book,
Yeah.
but take that information and put it everywhere. Right? So now you're updating your LinkedIn profile, you're updating your website, you're updating all of your social channels. You're letting the world know and thanking them.
Right.
Right? That you've had this achievement. You're so grateful and thankful that it's there. And now that lives on connected to your brand forever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny you just said that because it's so easy for someone to say, well, that's so mechanical, but they don't realize it's so impactful. So sometimes it's just those key pillar-like things that stand the test of time, right?
Right. Well, somebody who's meeting you 3 years from that day that it became the bestseller doesn't know.
Right.
Right. So you have to constantly have that up there. And that's a huge accomplishment. You should be proud of it regardless. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Last question for you. What in this process, as you either reflect on or reflect forward, you may think, that's if you don't do anything else, if there's one kind of golden thread to summarize all of this, what would be one or two things that you would pull together to kind of wrap this up?
I think building the community is huge. Right? Really, for anything that we're doing is make sure that you've got your community, make sure you have your database, because anything that you're doing, you can empower that community to support you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I think that that's huge beyond, obviously that supports this. And when you build those relationships, we're all in this, right, world and in business to build relationships. When you're building them, you know that you can depend on them to support you in really whatever you're doing.
Right.
So to me, that's the number one focus for everything that we're doing. And it just happens to be a huge, major part of achieving this one goal.
So awesome. Marni, I see a lot of cool stuff that you put out on different social channels. We get to chat, which I am very grateful for. What's the best place for folks to get more of you?
I'm a huge LinkedIn nerd. I always have been. I kind of tease, and I should pull this picture out, but years ago, my team and I dressed up as social channels for Halloween, and I was LinkedIn. And my team is much younger than me, and I walk out, and I am proud to be that LinkedIn nerd. So absolutely find me on LinkedIn. I'm under Marni Hale. I share some content, and I'm always happy to connect with people and support everybody in what they're trying to build.
Awesome. Hey, if this has been, you're so tactical. It was so on point. I'll make sure I link up the show notes. Can't thank you enough for us having this conversation on LinkedIn, us figuring out this is a great topic for us to share, and for us to be on together and reconnect as well. I can't thank you enough for being on and sharing the wisdom with everybody.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sharran.